The Witcher's story, as you probably know, takes place in the Northern Realms almost exclusively. While there is often talk of other places such as Nilfgaard, we only really visit one vassal duchy of this vast realm, Toussaint. But that is at least something. Other places like Ophir or Sangwebar are never visited at all. The most intriguing of these never-seen places, however, are the far north and the east, and especially Zerrikania. For this reason, precious little is known about these places at all, so there will be quite a bit of speculation in this video, as ever, so keep that in mind. The far north is separated from the Northern Realms by the Great Dragon Mountains, a natural border. These mountains are known for their abundance of resources, and monsters that roam those lands. Monsters don't seem to deter the inhabitants though, because although it is apparently freezing cold in the far north, who would have thought, the lands do indeed have inhabitants. And if we're to believe the stories, they're excellent archers, as the best and most expensive bow Milva had ever seen came from the far north. With a wingspan of 62 inches crafted from mahogany, with a perfectly poised grip and a smooth neck with laminated layers of woven wood, whale bones and tendons. It was incredibly light and accurate to perfection. Nothing to scoff at, surely, so if you expect to encounter only savages and beasts when venturing beyond the Dragon Mountains, I believe you'll be sorely disappointed. Of course, while mammoths and archers are all well and good, the greatest mystery surrounding the far north are, of course, white dragons. According to Geralt, the rarest of all dragons, but he does believe they exist, unlike golden dragons. Golden dragons, of course, being most revered in the Far East, in Zerrikania. When Bork 3 Jackdaws, a golden dragon in disguise, asks Geralt why he does not believe golden dragons exist, but white dragons do, even though he has never seen either, Geralt answers that he has never seen the white horses with black stripes from Ophir and Zangwebar either, but he knows they exist. But the golden dragon is a myth, like the phoenix. We, of course, know that Bork is a golden dragon. That conversation must have been odd for him. He tries to convince Geralt by implying that there may have once been a golden dragon, the product of a single, unique mutation. The only response he gets from Geralt, however, is that this means that the golden dragon is a mutant, and mutants are shunned. And it would also mean that there can be no more golden dragons, as mutants are sterile. However, Bork, once he reveals himself as a golden dragon, shows Geralt a small dragon cub he saved from the green dragon, Mirktabraka. Here it is. Here is my goal, my purpose. Thanks to this, I shall prove, Geralt of Rivia, that there is no limit as to what's possible. You too one day will discover such a purpose, Witcher. Even those who are different deserve to live. Bork himself said golden dragons were mutants, so in saying what he just told Geralt, he strongly implies that this baby dragon is in fact his child, further implying that mutants can in fact have children, albeit rarely. We know for a fact that it is possible for technically sterile people to have children, as Geralt himself is the child of a sorceress, and sorceresses are sterile. So if we take this implication and run with it, where does that leave us? Well, a few things actually. It is said that the name Zerrikania was taken from the legendary golden dragon Zerrikanterment. This because in Zerrikania they worship dragons. This might be because they witnessed the legendary golden dragon soar across the sky. Perhaps it even came down to speak to them, as Bork does as well in his golden dragon form. If we're being honest here, if I witnessed a talking golden dragon, I'd probably worship it too. Considering the implications that golden dragons can procreate as well, and the fact that a golden dragon in and of itself is really a mutation of another dragon, it's not a stretch that this legendary dragon, Zerrikanterment, is more than a legend, but it actually existed. And if more than one golden dragon existed at one point, there is no need for them to go extinct. In fact, if they're all as clever as Bork is, it's likely that more of them decided to simply hide in another form to keep themselves safe. According to Bork, to a dragon, nothing is more loathsome than men. Men awakens in dragons an instinctive and irrational hatred. Bork is just an exception, so they likely won't all have shapeshifted into humans, but rather they might choose elves, or better yet, dwarves. Saskia does mention she has a thing for dwarves, and that it must be a dragon thing, so who knows? They might be a little easier to identify due to their massive appetite, and Geralt might have already known that Bork was a dragon the moment he kept ordering food at the inn. As far as the mutation goes, I suspect they might be a mutation of the rare white dragons. Rarity upon rarity. We don't actually know how far the land of Zerrikania stretches, but there's a good chance it meets the far north, past the Fiery Mountains, just past the Blue Mountains. Assuming the far north stretches all the way east, of course. This way it would make more sense for a golden dragon, a mutated white dragon, to visit Zerrikania in the first place. They're basically neighbors. Of course, dragons aren't the only inhabitants of Zerrikania. It's also home to basilisks, tigers, antelopes, huge spotted spiders so big they trap elephants in their webs, and tsetse flies that lay eggs in people's brains. So it's not exactly the friendliest place you could visit, which is likely why every Zerrikanian is raised as a warrior, trained in combat from a very early age. Especially the women are feared for their prowess in battle. Dandelion apparently read that Zerrikanian women are the best archers in the world, more precisely those of the steppe clans. Some reportedly cut their right breast so that they do not get in the way when tightening their arches. The bust, they say, falls into the path of the cord. Although that last bit about the breast is a fact questioned by Milva, one of, if not the best female archer Geralt had ever met. And although the Zerrikanian archers are certainly a sight to behold, the most seen weapons are actually the Zerrikanian sabers. They're a favorite for mercenaries and bandits even in the lands beyond Zerrikania. And if conventional weapons don't get the job done, it's also said that Zerrikania is where the formulae for bombs were first created. The land is in fact famous for its alchemists, which, if you'll allow me to speculate wildly for a moment, might also be why the Golden Dragon mutation appeared in Zerrikania. It might have been alchemists experimenting, just like alchemical potions were necessary for witcher mutations. We did speculate earlier that the School of the Manticore originated from Zerrikania as well, so they wouldn't be strangers to mutations. That's an extremely far-fetched, wild speculation, though. Unfortunately, not much else is known about these far lands. We know even less about Hakland, the lands northeast of Zerrikania. The only thing we know about Hakland is that they apparently attempted an invasion in the year 1350. We don't even know where they invaded, honestly. We do know that aside from the very violent sides of Zerrikania, they also ship expensive spices to Novigrad. So we know they have an exotic kitchen at least, and that trade between the Northern Realms and Zerrikania does happen, and not just trade of spices. When Amirvar Emrys was looking for a bride, some Nilfgaardian noble houses feared he might find a Zerrikanian woman to marry and make Empress of Nilfgaard after Ciri disappeared. As far as the language goes, we know very little. Big surprise, I know. There is only one real word we hear that is likely Zerrikanian, as it is spoken by Thea and Vea, the two Zerrikanian warriors accompanying Bork, the Sekiel. And this is probably also not how you pronounce it, which probably means something along the lines of "to your health" or "bottoms up," as they used the word when they lifted their glasses to have a drink together. We know that Villentrettenmirth literally means 3 black birds, and as Bork is a golden dragon and he travels with 2 Zerrikanian women, it's possible his name is also Zerrikanian. I wish there was more to tell you about the wonderful lands of the far north and the east, but there simply isn't too much out there, so I'll leave you with 2 more fun little facts. Also somewhat Zerrikania related, because yes, out of all the lands in the north and east, most is probably known about Zerrikania. However little it is. As you might know, Bork 3 Jackdaws travels with 2 Zerrikanian warrior women, Thea and Vea. They're both heavily tattooed, as most Zerrikanian warriors are, and Bork tells us that Thea and Vea aren't their real names, because their real names are tongue twisters. While we don't learn Thea's full name, we do hear Vea's, Alvia Nerle. Bork is probably right to call them Thea and Vea for convenience. And to close off this episode, Zerrikania and Hakland are apparently the go-to place to flee towards for anyone on the other side of the Blue Mountains. Dijkstra himself also fled to Zerrikania and worked there as a guardian of camels for a while, after Philippa sent assassins after him. And there are others that fled that way too. I suppose facing brain-eating tsetse flies was less of a problem than whoever was after them otherwise. And with that visual in mind, thank you for watching, and va fail!